Thank
Over to
you.
you. You're welcome.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Romy. Thank you, everyone. Lovely to be here with you. So, in this talk, I shall be holding a vision in my heart that we're going to settle into a beautiful hour together of heart to heart connection. As Romy's just beautifully introduced me, I'm a teacher, a researcher, explorer, and stone whisperer, and a scholar of the imagination. I have a PhD in transformative learning and a master's in holistic science from the Schumacher College in Devon. And my academic research is transdisciplinary, so it spans across depth psychology, holistic science, cultural history, spiritual philosophy, ecological consciousness, sustainability, and conflict resolution, to name just a few discourses. But I won't say any more about that here, as I would really like the words and the images and the stories that I'm going to share with you today to give you a genuine flavour of my work, where I'm coming from, and hopefully create the vessel through which we can dream together, imagine, and connect to the natural world and to the world of the stones. And I would just like to say that before moving on, my life's journey has been guided by two incredible sources of wisdom. That is my heart and the stones. And I will paint a bigger picture as we move deeper into this talk that will hopefully put this statement into context. And just to say that all but one of the pictures on my slideshow today are taken from my adventures to the Penwith Peninsula in Cornwall, the majority of them on my most recent visit there at the end of last summer. And much of this talk that I'm sharing with you today came into being as I was walking among the stones and received their wisdom last summer. And so I wanted to draw your attention to one of my stone guardians who insisted on coming with me today. So I'd like you to say hello, and I will be speaking more to the importance of this stone in my life later on, and its beautiful presence that sort of constantly imbues my life with deep meaning every day. So, as this session today is about connecting to a world that comes into being through a deeper, more contemplative mode of awareness, I just thought it might be quite nice for us to take a few moments together just to connect, to bring in the intelligence of our whole body and our heart's wisdom in particular. So, if it feels comfortable for you, you might like to just gently rest your eyes in a soft gaze or close your eyes completely. And just take some gentle breaths in and out. Just taking a moment to really arrive here on this Zoom call and breathing in and out of your heart at a depth and a pace that feels right and comfortable for you. So you're consciously bringing the breath that the natural world gives you deeper and deeper into your heart, and focusing on your heart. And if you find this difficult, you might like to softly place the palm of your hand over your heart, or bring into your heart's awareness someone or something that means a great deal to you, that makes your heart smile or sing. And as you bring your focus into your heart through your breath, through the touch of your palm over your heart, and bringing to your awareness someone or something that makes your heart smile, what you're doing is activating your heart's awareness and wisdom. You are connecting with this organ of imaginal perception, and I'll speak a little more to this shortly. So as you breathe in and out, continuing to breathe into your heart and out from your heart, you don't have to intellectualize this, but just trust in your heart and your whole body wisdom that you are connecting. You might also like to say to your heart, I am here and I am listening. I am open to your loving guidance in living relation with the unfolding world. Or whatever comes into your awareness that is just for you. And perhaps as you do this, breathing deeply in and out of your heart, you may start to open up a possibility of a sense of yourself situated in a wider system of relations, as an integral part of the earth, the trees, the plants, the animals that call this place their home, the rocks beneath your feet, each with their own story to tell. So just continue to breathe in and out of your heart as you activate this beautiful space of wisdom that has so much to offer in relation with the living, breathing, speaking world. And I'll be reminding you just to come back to the breath, placing the palm over the heart as we move through this talk today. Just to give your heart that focused awareness as it connects with the natural world. But just for now, you just start to very gently start to become aware of your physical body sat on the seat beneath you, and also the sounds within the room where you're located in your part of the world. And just very slowly and gently bringing your attention back to this time and this space. So this talk really is an invitation to your whole body and to your heart in particular as an organ of imaginal perception to step fully into a whole experience of the living, breathing earth and all the beings who live upon her. It's an invitation for nourishment, to digest, metabolize, alchemize all that is offered to support and give you the permission and confidence and strength to begin to fully embrace and consciously participate in the unfolding of this exquisitely beautiful world that is infinitely alive and always speaking to you, continually inviting you into its spiral dance. So in this space together, we'll open the possibility of extending and stretching and reaching out beyond our ordinary day-to-day framework of meaning making into the possibility for greater connection with the world and all the beings who live upon her, opening ourselves to ways of knowing that are wider and deeper in scope. And so in this sense, I am here today offering words from my heart that invite us to step out into a world of intimate connection, supporting us to rekindle relationships with the more than human world, opening to directly experiencing life as it unfolds through us in every living moment. And as we open ourselves to as much of the world as possible and to the different ways that it speaks to us, then perhaps we can start to become more aware of the responsibility that this carries, coming to understand that everything we do has an impact on the world in all of its forms. And so with that said, and with our hearts as our guide, we will move into the world of the stones as we take this time together to meander and saunter and loop and spiral, wonder and wonder, looking around our past, present and future with a curious, expansive lens through moments leading to other moments in the unfolding story of the earth and the beings with whom we share our space. And so with this invitation in place, I'd like to offer a story of love, connection, loss, remembering and reconnection. It's a story that endeavours to rekindle a recognition of our deep embeddedness in the earth story and the language of the stones. So again, I just invite you to just consider your heart, move back into your heart. And you can do this by simply placing your palm over your heart and breathe in and out of your heart, activating this space. And also to be aware as you take these words into your heart and allow them to sink into the cells of your whole body, for they are also aware, what specific parts of this story that I'm sharing with you claim you? What in particular makes your heart rise with excitement or the hairs stand up on your body? What makes you feel uncomfortable or tight or conflicted? And what memories perhaps may surface that perhaps you've forgotten until now? And these feelings, thoughts, memories, reflections are offered to you by your whole being, experiencing life as it unfolds through you. It's a way of knowing and making sense of the world that is as old as time. It is the world of the ancestors, the time of the elderships of the rocks, as they offer our ancient ancestors their wisdom, arising out of their billion years of experience on their own life on Earth. So for as long as I can remember, I've had a deep connection with stones, and I'm sure many of you here have. You know, from crystals and rocks to pebbles washed up on beaches, sacred sites, stone circles, tools and granite outcrops. I'm sure you have many stories too. My home and car and pockets and handbag and bags, they're all crammed full of rocks and crystals and stones. And it's difficult for me to describe this connection, but when I'm with my stones, I feel in a deep, loving relationship with them. They have the capacity to transport me into a different frame of reference. When I'm with them, something is exchanged between myself and them, which leaves me with a greater sense of well-being and calm. It's as though I'm in the presence of an ancient wisdom that comforts and soothes me, and I do feel that I'm as equally as important in the life of the stone too. And as a child, I recall magical walks along the Land's End coastal path in Cornwall, surrounded by towering granite rocks, which I felt deeply connected to and in communion with. And these magnificent elders would speak to me, imparting their wisdom, happy to see me each year, watching me grow older as I skipped past these granite giants with excitement and delight. And I intimately knew each twist and bend and sharp descent and grueling climb of the coastal path that I regularly walked with my parents, eagerly greeting my old friends along the way. And some of them are here. So here is Lion Rock. Maybe you can see a lion. And here is Puffin Rock. Again, another different energy. Here is Rabbit Rock, quite a playful energy from this rock. And here is the old man, who I have a deep, deep connection with. He's incredibly wise. He's the first being I have to go and see when I go to Land's End. And here is Crocodile Rock. And even now, when I revisit this mystical land, I am transported back into the ancient, enchanted world of the stones, feeling joy in my heart as I connect with my old friends and all the stone circles, dolmens, tors, and standing stones that cover the myth-soaked land of the Penwith Peninsula. So while connection and joy and enchantment and speaking with the more than human world stand as bookends at either side of my life, the time between high school and the late 2000s for me is a story of separation, of loss and grief, and a descent into serious illness. And as I grew older, the enchanted magical world of my childhood and the voices of my stone friends gradually fell silent. High school beckoned and I wanted to fit in. The playground was not a friendly place for a quiet, sensitive girl who talked to stones. The way of knowing and relating to the world that was as natural to me as breathing was temporarily lost. And as the enchanted world of my childhood faded out of my life, I found myself experiencing physical illness. When I was 18, I developed viral myocarditis, and this left me seriously ill in hospital, where I experienced 3 cardiac arrests and I was fitted with a pacemaker. And a decade later, I experienced complications with debilitating cardiac arrhythmias. And over the years, I continually withdrew from the world, unable to understand what had happened, as the world of my childhood and the speaking stones did not fit into the world that was available to me as an adult. And as the late depth psychologist Carl Jung laments, when we lose this deeper way of connecting with the earth, no river contains a spirit, no tree is the life principle of a man, no snake the embodiment of wisdom, no mountain cave the home of a great demon. No voices now speak to man from stones, plants and animals. nor does he speak to them believing they can hear. For me, this loss was deep, and grief pained my heart. And I now understand, after lots and lots of research and work and lots of years that have passed, that all the physical issues that I've experienced was because my heart wanted me to return to its wisdom, and it had no other way of gaining my attention. My heart was constantly calling me back, willing me to listen and to turn my attention back to the living, breathing, speaking world that wanted to speak to me, to live with me, to support me and heal me. And this call, made manifest through cardiac illness, as well as severe anxiety and panic attacks, led me to eventually study for a master's at the Schumacher College and move onwards to take a PhD in transformative learning, where I spent 5 years in conversation with my heart, learning my heart's language and understanding where my disconnection from the living, breathing world originated. And so, returning to my heart, I began to reconnect with a world that was deeply communicative, and I began to heal on all levels. So again, now I just want to pause for a moment and just invite you to maybe just rest your eyes in a soft gaze or close them if it feels comfortable for you. And just again, invite you into your heart. Breathe into your heart and back out from your heart at a pace and a depth that feels right for you. You might like to place your palm over your heart as well if that resonates. And as you connect with your heart and move into the possibility of hearing your heart's wisdom, I would just like to gently inquire whether this story resonates with you, and if so, what parts in particular. Can you locate yourself anywhere in this story? Is there a part of the story that claims you? And if there's anywhere in your body or your heart or feelings of joy or discomfort or anything at all arising, I've learnt over many years in conversation with my heart that this is your heart and body wisdom speaking to you, supporting you to return to the understanding that you are an experiencing being, fully embedded in the world's unfolding story. So again, just a reminder just to keep coming back to your heart, breathing in and out of your heart, and just remaining curious as to what may arise as I continue to share through this talk. So when you're ready, please come back to present moment and to the Zoom room. So why am I telling you this story? Why is this story important? Why is your story important? It's important, I believe, for one key reason. The lens through which we meet the world creates a possibility of the world that we engage with. And so, in simplistic terms, the lens through which I met the world as I entered my late childhood was too narrow, too shallow to hear the calls of the world that I heard as a young girl. And so, from my perspective, the world fell silent. However, this doesn't mean that the world stopped talking. In this sense, we lose so much when we exclude emotional, feeling, physical, intuitive, imaginal, somatic, deep inner intuitive knowing, and so many more ways of making sense of our experience of the world from our familiar lens and process of critical thinking. And that's not to say that these familiar lens and critical thinking aren't important, they are. But it's giving equal value to body knowing, heart knowing, and the imagination as all ways of knowing that help us to know ourselves more fully with the world's unfolding. And when this is seen as the only way of making sense of the world to the detriment of our whole selves and all the ways that we know, it can leave us in a mode of perception as a detached observer living outside of the world. And this way of making sense of life has become so accepted as truth that even our language reflects this. And very often we unconsciously act from this point of view. but we are experiencing beings deeply embedded in the world's conversation. And as we take a walk in nature or visit our favourite place or connect with the stones, perhaps we can ask ourselves, how are we meeting the natural world? In what ways am I open enough to hear what the world wants to say to me? If we take seriously that the world speaks in a myriad of languages, not necessarily in the language of English through which I'm communicating with you here today, but colour, smell, taste, and a whole range of other subtle ways and energies, it stands to reason that we, as human beings, need all of our faculties of knowing to hear this language and then to make meaning. And so this opens the door for us to consider seriously our whole selves as a perceptive organ, meaning using bodily knowing and the faculty of the imagination, which I shall speak to shortly. And so again, it means bringing in and giving value to deep inner knowing, intuition, dreams, spontaneous images arising in awareness, memories, bodily sensations and reflections as we're experiencing our relationship with the world. And set in this context, it becomes perhaps a little clearer that we are unable to fully engage with the world through a more narrow mode of perception, and particularly one that creates a detached, disconnected stance. So I'd now like to make a case for the heart's way of knowing. So as I've discovered on my own long journey with my heart, it's been a very, very long journey, that the heart inherently contains and exudes all the beautiful qualities and characteristics that are opening, they're gesturing outwards towards the world, specifically through the heart's inherent qualities of love and compassion and kindness, non-judgment, that curiosity towards the world. The heart is, generally speaking, oriented towards inviting and welcoming in the world. And it's really the perfect place to begin any connection or any relationship. And the natural world speaks in a myriad of different ways or languages, and its language is moving, it's living, it's unfolding in the present moment. So as you move through the world, how does a stone or a plant or a tree, an animal or a landscape claim your attention? How is it reaching out to you? How is it touching you and your heart and your senses and your awareness? And for me, this is the way that the world speaks. And as I've said previously, these beings may not necessarily communicate in English in the way I'm doing here, although for some people these beings do, but they speak in their own way through the way that they look, subtle cues, energetic communication, and it's our heart which is best placed to receive this communication. And it's so interesting that recent research from the Heart Math Institute in the USA has discovered that the heart responds to images from the world 1.3 seconds before the brain receives that communication, which I think is a wonderful example of how the world is reaching out to speak to our hearts first, and then the heart passes that information to the mind, to the brain, situated in the head as we would understand today. And of course, we probably all here know that the heart has an incredibly long tradition and an important role in mystical Sufism and the Christian East, in religious philosophy, where it's a place of connection to the divine and the transcendent realms. And while I'm not speaking to this theme today in my talk, the point I'm making here is that the heart can connect us to realms beyond our ordinary day-to-day modes of perception and consciousness. And when we move into the possibility of seeing the world through the heart and the imagination, we connect with a conversation with the world that has never stopped. It was perhaps just us who stopped listening just for a while. So I'd like to just start to pull some of these strands together now. At the beginning of this talk, I said I was a scholar of the imagination. And in the context of this session today, there are two key points that I need to make clear, as having an understanding of them in this context helps us to contemplate the possibility that we have other ways of knowing available to us that can support us to hear the earth and therefore the stones speak. The first is that the imagination is a mode of knowing. And the second is that the heart is the organ through which the imaginal mode of knowing is made possible. So the imagination in this context is a way of engaging with the living earth as she speaks to us in images and in other subtle ways. So it's entirely distinct from contemporary understanding of imagination as fantasy or childish or something that we grow out of. It's a way of taking a look into the world. We're looking into the world beyond outward appearances. And it's an ancient, sophisticated, valid, genuine way of human knowing, which leads us into an expansive, deep, subtle, and powerful space in conversation with the world. Opening up to deep knowing, intuition, as I've said before, feelings, bodily sensations, spontaneous visions. And it does have a long history in psychological literature with its own mode of being. And extending the work of religious scholar Henri Corbin, the archetypal psychologist, many of you know, probably James Hillman, he says that the heart is the thought of images. So as the world speaks to us through these images directly to our hearts respond to the calls of the world. So the imagination and the heart, they go hand in hand. It's the organ of imaginal perception that is best situated to receive the calls of the world. So to create the opportunity to bring more of the living, breathing world into our awareness and to open the possibility for communication with this world, Hillman says that our modern task is to rediscover the wisdom of our own hearts. And so turning then to our organ of imaginal perception, our heart, for teaching and for guidance, and opening up to that as a possibility. And that was really where my PhD research jumped off into, and then moved into my own research with heart sense, which I'll share with you shortly. So we're really giving value, we're taking seriously the imagination and the imaginal as a way of helping us to speak to the more than human world. And indeed, many shamanic teachers and eco-psychologists, they say that the imagination is how we move towards the place where we can touch the mythic and enter the dreaming of the earth. It takes us into deep relationship, deep communion, feeling into and sensing the world with all that we are, with our whole selves. And then we have the possibility, the potentiality of making meaning in a wider, expansive field of perception that includes ourselves in relationship with life and all the beings of life and the world. Feeling, deeply knowing, intuiting our way into the world that lives in form beyond form in so many different ways. So I'm defining the imagination as a foundational mode of knowing and perception that is the mode of knowing through which it becomes possible to hear the voice of the earth and all the beings who live upon her in our present unfolding moment. It's knowing before analysis and reduction. It's living, breathing awareness. Imaginal awareness is innate. It's the mode of knowing we were born with. And in this sense, I'm speaking of the imagination in its broadest context and making the case for the imagination as a valid way of making meaning in our lives. And the organ through which the imagination operates is the heart. And as I think back to the way that I connected with stones and the land in my younger years, I know I was connecting through my imagination. And while school educates us that the imagination is only for young children, if taken up as a valid mode of human knowing with a long history of great importance, it can lead us to deeper meaning, allowing us to see more and experience more, giving us permission to fully experience the whole world. lifting and deepening and broadening our experience in communion with the discursive intellect, which we perhaps know is situated in our mind, in the brain, and the imagination, with the heart as its organ of perception, offers us an expanded way of being in the world, looking into the world beyond outward appearances, so we can have a fuller experience, perhaps have the possibility to become whole or more whole, and to heal, perhaps. So perhaps now we can start to hold the possibility of this mode of knowing being a valid mode of cognition. And questions that I often ask when I reach this point is, what might we gain by doing this? And another extremely important question, what possibilities for deeper meaning making have we lost if we don't allow this possibility? The imagination is expansive and deep enough to hold the rich complexity of the world in all its different shades and expressions, a world saturated with depth and meaning, a mutually responsive relational world where everything has meaning and everything matters. So despite the lens that I've been educated to view the world through, the exquisite complexity of the natural world continued to pull me back in through my heart, and the stones and rocks were always standing there, steadfast, continually inviting me into their world. So returning to my story and my ongoing communication with stones, as I learnt to reconnect with my heart and my heart's way of knowing, my world transformed. And debilitating panic attacks, anxiety, cardiac arrhythmias, agoraphobia, just pretty much everything have been left in my past. And the world has opened up, and I can once more hear the world speaking to me as I converse with the stone beings who captured my heart and soul all those years ago. And I have gained so much more than I've lost. And I have a deeper connection with the land, a deeper relationship with the land, as I see beings in stone and walk the song lines, and realizing that we are each supporting each other to live. And the stones also have gifted me profound teachings, one of which I'm going to share with you very, very shortly, I promise, and we'll come back to my little friend here. So before we do this, I'd just like to bring us back into the heart space again. And I'm just sharing with you a slide here on heart sense, and this is adapted from the heart sense process that I developed as part of my PhD, which is also inspired very deeply by Goethe's methodology of inquiry too. But you might like to place your palm over your heart and just breathe in and out of your heart once more. When you do this, your heart automatically knows that you're listening. It's such a simple thing to do. And there are 4 steps as part of the heart sense approach here. And I'll share them with you now. And the first step is sinking into your heart, as we're doing now, and physically feeling your heart's qualities, the care, appreciation, love, compassion, kindness. And then step 2 is focusing on sending that love and appreciation and care, all those beautiful heart qualities, out from your heart, out into your space and towards everyone else here on this Zoom call, and perhaps to the stones as well that touch your life, or the landscape that touch your life. And then as I share the next slide with you and the story, just asking you to just breathe in and out and extend your heart's energy out towards the story and the stone, and just remain in a space of curiosity. Just cultivate a sense of curiosity. And if little thoughts, mind chatter come in, then let it in, and let it ebb and flow like the waves on the sea. And just listen carefully and deeply with your heart, being aware of what's arising for you, what you can feel and hear and see and sense. So just very simple steps, just reaching out with your heart and just remaining aware. And if a little mind chatter comes in, that's okay. Just let it come and go. So I promised I would tell you the story of my granite stone guardian. And here is this little being again, very special in my life. And so as I sat and communed with the land in 2011 on a granite outcrop near Puffin Rock, and you know Puffin Rock now because I've shared Puffin Rock with you, I was gifted the following message. And just to say that in 2011, I was suffering incredibly badly with debilitating anxiety and panic attacks. I couldn't be on my own. Even when people were around me, I was still feeling incredibly fearful of having a cardiac arrhythmia. So I was suffering quite badly. But the message that I had when I was in deep contemplation was, as I was extending my heart out towards Puffin Rock, was, whenever you are worried or fearful, remember the magnificence of this place, the planet, and by virtue, the entire universe. You have all of this power and magnificence within you. Remember your true essence. Connect to the ancient stone people, stone animals, and me, Puffin Rock, whenever you need us. Now you can take your stone as a gift from us. It is something for you to help you to remember. And this is my gifted rock. As I opened my eyes and looked down, this incredible piece of granite was by my feet, and it had not been there previously. I can honestly say it hadn't been there previously. And so I was deeply emotional, with my heart wide open. I tenderly picked up this stone and I heard the words, "Within me is all the information you will ever need." And that is so true, because this stone has been with me ever since. And as religious philosopher Professor Jeffrey Kripal says, we can either follow where these experiences can take us, or we can subsume them into a rational rereading. And deep in my bones, I knew that offering a rational explanation was not the right thing for me. So I opened my heart and I followed, contemplating this message with this beautiful stone as a reminder. I had a strong sense of stone being my ancient ancestor, my elder. And I then wondered, what if I took this message seriously? Where could it take me? And the teaching that I'm now going to relate to you occurred over many months and years. But this is what I've realized from this stone. Over time, I recognized what stone was saying to me, deep in my heart and body. In living, breathing, present moment inquiry, in deep relationship with the stones along the coastal path, I began to develop a real sense of the wisdom of these stones, standing as silent sentinels for tens of thousands of years. I then had a sense of the deep time of stone, standing strong, being weathered by powerful storms, yet still there to greet me year after year, lifetime after lifetime. I realized they were teaching me strength and peace, and if I embodied the wisdom and living presence of the stone, I could change how I perceived and consequently acted in the world. Through this simple yet profound message, I finally understood how the stones teach us to walk in the world with care and respect, and how they are incredible peacekeepers and teachers. As I took this teaching deeper into my body and heart, mind and soul, I began to heal. Synchronicities took place. I found myself at Schumacher College, deeply immersed in the earth. I started to hear the earth speaking again, just as I had done as a little girl. I was healing on so many levels. And so I'm just curious, just reflecting back into your hearts now. What is arising for you as I share this story? Are there thoughts or feelings or memories, reflections, deep inner knowing arising for you? And this is communication from the stones to your heart, to you. What is the stones saying to you? What is your heart saying to you as I share these messages? So now I'll go back to two important questions. What would I have lost if I hadn't have followed the message of my stone? When I just share where those teachings have took me, I would have lost a great deal. And actually, what have I gained? A fuller experience of life, a healthier body, mind and heart. And I know this isn't a great picture, so forgive me everybody, but I took this photograph last summer and it's such an achievement for me. I walked all the way to Carnles Bowl all on my own and back again. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when I was suffering so badly from agoraphobia, severe anxiety, couldn't go anywhere on my own. I actually walked on my own, probably a 10-mile round walk along the coastal path last summer. And that was a picture of me connecting with the Carnles Bowl, where the Michael and Mary line, many of you probably know, the ley line comes into the UK and makes landfall. So I'm sharing that photograph with you because it's such a sense of an expression of my connection with the stones and how they have changed my life. So just ignore the weird hat and me looking incredibly hot and flustered. It was very windy on that day. So I'm going to conclude now. Through reimagining the heart in a contemporary framework, I'm suggesting that the heart's way of knowing and making meaning in the world, speaks urgently to our own troubled times as a way through which we can all move into a deeper experience with the world itself, opening up a long forgotten dialogue. It's relational and co-creative. I'm given the possibility to become more fully myself through allowing stone to speak to me in its own way, and stone can become more fully itself through me as I use all of my ways of knowing. It's reciprocal, it's participatory, it's relational. And through the wisdom of my heart and Puffin Rock, Crocodile Rock, the Old Man, Rabbit Rock, and my little stone elder here, they will live in my life and make meaning. I can greet these beings as old friends, and they can greet me. And I'm open to a deeper relationship with the natural world. I can see more, hear more, and experience more. And as I follow where this communication leads, memories surface that I might not have had the possibility to recall through a narrower focus of perception. And these memories take me down another train of thought. And just like that, I'm making meaning and learning more about life in living, loving conversation with the world. And then everything starts to come alive and shimmer with light. And I realize that I'm an experiencing being fully embedded in the world's conversation. Life has meaning, and I am part of something extraordinary. Over time, my relationship with the world deepens. I act differently. In conversation with the stones and my heart, the world changes. I am no longer a detached observer. I am sitting at the feet of a 4.6 billion year old ancestor, the earth, and learning from all the beings who live upon her. My heart once said to me, Louise, when you work with me, expect miracles. And that incredible realization for me, as well as my own healing journey, has been a miracle. And I think today, more than ever, we need to seriously take up our imaginal mode of perception through the wisdom of the heart to help us to make deeper meaning. This way of engaging allows us to see more and experience more. It gives us permission to lift our world into the mythical, the very real world of story and direct lived experience in relationship with the world. And this way of knowing is 100% valid and important. So as I return to my talk title, The Ancient Stones Are Speaking, that is what I really mean. They are speaking and communicating in living present moment relationship with me and you. I did not come here to talk about the stones, that is, trying to fit my lived experience into a narrow framework of understanding and perception that renders me a detached observer. I came here to talk about my direct experience in living, loving relationship with stones. The ancient stones are speaking in their own way, in their shape, their composition, their placement in the landscape, the beings that live upon them, the offerings that they are adorned with, in the way that the sun lights their flanks on special days of the year, the vast context that they find themselves in. They speak through how they make us feel as we note our body responses, dreams, fizzing, tingling feelings. This is their language, their realm, the world of the mythic and the imaginal that is just as real as the world of our day-to-day modes of awareness. And I believe that it is the heart that opens up this world to us, and it is the heart that understands. And as I draw my talk to a close now, I'm wondering, as I ask you once more, just to breathe into your heart and or place your palm over your heart. What is the question you hold in your heart for that river-washed pebble, or that granite sentinel standing on that wind-ravaged outcrop? What treasure does your heart seek in deep living relation with your ancient stone elders? And what do your ancient stone elders seek from you? Listen closely, and as you open your heart, may you hear the ancient stones calling you home, back to the myth-infused, animate, living, breathing world. Thank you. And those are just a few little bits and pieces about me and what I'm doing over the next few months or so, but I can send you the PowerPoint.
Oh, that would be lovely, thank you. And can I invite you all to unmute yourself and just show our appreciation to Louise for such a wonderful talk. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really, really appreciated that, as I think we all did.
That's beautiful, Leah.
Beautiful heart.
Yay! What's my heart there?
Just for you.
I was going to say, are there any questions that anyone would like to ask, or any comments that you'd like to make? I know I felt as I was as you were talking, there was something that kept coming up in my mind, and I pushed it aside, and it kept coming up. So I know that I've got to say it, and it was actually with regards to women and menopause, and how brain fog.
Yes.
And I was actually thinking about how if we're going more speaking through the heart, and we're more centered through the heart and breathing through the heart, rather than going into that panic side because we're forgetting something, or we're anxious about something, and actually taking that time to breathe and think, well, what is my heart telling me to do, or what is my heart suggesting I do in this moment? It's a very different space to be in, and actually being brave enough and courageous enough to follow that, because I think we can all, men and women, we can all actually tune into our hearts, but it's whether we're brave enough to take those steps forward and to follow what our heart is saying to us, especially when the head starts to come in and say, oh, you're just making it up, maybe that's not, and starts second guessing you all the time. So that was, I really felt that through your talk, was how brave it was in taking those steps forward.
Thank you.
And I really wanted to share my appreciation for that. Thank you very much.
I'm delighted you've brought that into the space, because being a woman of a certain age myself, the brain fog is really has been incredibly difficult. Going into my heart has actually helped things to become clearer. And you're also speaking to something that actually our contemporary Western world has a particular perception of the heart. It's a biological organ and it's nothing more. And therefore, however the other ways that our heart wishes to live, it can't, and it can only live then as a sentimental, irrational space. So what I kind of wanted to say here is as well that it's quite brave to actually move into the heart space, especially when we've been told it's framed in a particular way. You can't trust your heart, it's irrational, it's sentimental. And having worked so deeply with mine, I know that's not the case. And actually, so it's a good thing to try and challenge, that little mind chatter in a way. but doing it gently through the heart, because the heart kind of says, well, that's okay, I don't mind, you take your time, you come back to me when you're ready.
Thank you. That was lovely. And Lee, did you have a question?
I don't know if it's a question. I will see. We'll see if a question comes out of it. First of all, I'd like to say thank you. Prior to this session tonight, I was in my supervision. There was just a little half an hour gap. It's almost as though that half an hour gap didn't exist, because from what was in that supervision session to what you just shared, there were so many messages, personal messages to me that came from that. I found that a really deeply emotive and powerful presentation tonight. So I wanted you to know that, first of all. I wanted to share that with you. And really, it's what Romy was saying there about bravery was the thing that was really shaking and rattling my soul there. The courage that it takes to be able to step into this space. And I don't know if it is a question, but perhaps it's something of what you might be able to further share is, how did you begin to find that? How did you lift that foot up and take that first step? What if you can go back and remember, were there any particular moment or attitudes or practices that helped that take place, to have that courage?
Yeah, thank you, Lee. That's a great question. I mean, I think for me, there was no choice because I was in such a bad place that I was about to, take my own life. I didn't want to be here anymore. And I had a particular moment where my heart just reached out to me and screamed at me and said, please, please stop this. So it was like I had no choice. I had to listen, but I had no idea how to. But even just a simple breath into the heart. I know many people practice this anyway, but it's just placing the palm over the heart. But for me, it was about reframing my own heart in my own life, because I'd been told that actually it was irrational and sentimental and I couldn't trust my heart, and that was breaking my heart too. It was breaking it to such a point where actually I was very mentally unwell and not wanting to be here anymore. So it was kind of like it was a choice between being here or not.
There's such deep wisdom in that suffering. Thank you ever so much, Louise. It's been a real pleasure. Please, if there's other people that want to ask questions, we've got 5 more minutes before I know
I
that
can probably go till 10 to if
okay.
people,
Brilliant.
I don't want to rush things if people do want to speak.
Thanks, Louise.
Mick, hi.
Yeah, very, very beautiful. Thank you. It's interesting because I don't know, like Lee, I don't know if this is a question, but it might form into one. And I realize with crystals and stone, I don't get a narrative conversation. I get a vibration conversation. So I get sort of, I remember picking up some, I don't know what it's called. It's a black crystal. Anyway, it's for earthing, apparently. And
Labradorite, tourmaline, obsidian,
what was the first one?
labradorite, tourmaline,
Oh,
obsidian,
tourmaline, or
hematite.
yeah. So anyway, I just said, "Oh, that looks nice," and I picked it up, and my feet, I felt a connection to the feet in the earth. I said, "Oh, it's having a weird feeling in my foot," and the person said, "Oh, that's for grounding."
Yeah.
So I guess that's speaking to us in some way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's communication. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, we've been told that even that communication, it can't be trusted. It's invalid. And I guess I'm just here to say, if you're working through your heart in relation with the earth, that's a primordial mode of communication. You know, if we were born from the Earth's been around 4.6 billion years, Homo sapiens 200,000 years. It stands to reason that we would be speaking through these ways that I've shared with you, but we've just got a narrative, we've got a framework that says we can't trust that. And the world's never stopped speaking.
So that's lovely. Thanks. Yeah, no, I love this. I think it's great because you know, you sort of you kind of having these conversations and you're thinking, oh, how did my feet know that?
Yeah,
How did the
yeah,
stone know
it's
my feet would know that? But the one that really fascinates me is I saw this lovely piece of, I think it was laboradite actually, and it was in a pendant form, and I wore it around my neck, and I started to get really spun out. I thought, oh, that looks nice, and I put it around my neck, and I looked up later, and it said some people can really whiz off with this, and you know, so I can't wear laboradite now, and you know, that's so it's this kind of knowing as well that there's certain relations with the stones,
yeah.
and yeah, it's kind of learning about not only what they are, but what they're doing to us in relationship.
Yes, and there's also, you can extend that a little further, Mick, and I would say maybe bring labradorite or that stone back into your life and sit with it and
Oh,
just
wow.
say, I really want to be with you.
Mm.
Is there any way you can just tone down those energies for me a little bit? Because again, it's the
Yeah.
relational space, that's the ongoing conversation,
Lovely.
you know?
Right, I've got it. I've got it upstairs. So I think we're now talking about a dialogue rather than wearing it. It's a little bit more, yeah, for the moment
For the
anyway.
moment, and then
Yeah.
just see what just but again, this is the playful space, but the playful space is deeply wise as well, you know.
That's lovely,
And
that.
you know,
Yeah.
the stones and your heart in communication with the earth will never give you anything more than you can cope with. So just try and keep that conversation going and open up to the possibility that that can happen.
Yeah, lovely. I'm sorry, I've got one more question as well. Sorry, I didn't realize how much stones are in my life. Here's one for you. I got a piece of stone upstairs that is from outer space. It's a meteorite. What's your relationship with that? Because I again, I hold that and I go, woof,
Yeah,
it's really powerful. And again, I can't do much with it, but I saw it and I thought, I love this. So I kind of wanted to bring it home because I thought it's a piece of the cosmos, you know.
yeah,
What's your take on that? Sort of like, I know we're all in the cosmos, but something that's come from space onto Earth. Any
yeah.
thoughts about that?
I mean, I think again, it's down to unique experience, individual experience with a stone. And you could sit with this stone. Yes, moldavite. Yeah, Romy. Moldavite's very powerful. You could just sit with this stone and see what it wants to say to you in relation with the earth. Again, they can send me quite spinny, so I do
Yeah,
tend to sort of zoom off into somewhere else. So I need to be very careful with them. And again, it's just being careful in that relational space as to what it is that these stones wish to say to you.
brilliant. Wonderful. I've resolved my. Thank you.
I mean, I would just think, well, you know, because you've said a couple of times I can't work with that stone, and I'd just be like, I'm just wondering about that. If you opened up a little dialogue as to maybe saying, how can I best work with you? You know,
Nice.
maybe I'll move out and place you on the earth, and then I can sit next to you, and we can have a three-way conversation between the earth, the stone from the cosmos, and me. Wouldn't that be exciting?
Lovely. Have a
And let
group
me know how you
session.
get on.
I will. Yeah, no, I'm going to get them out later.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have time. Any more questions, please?
One of the things that I just wanted to make, oh, sorry, Leah, did you want to say something? No, one of the things I just wanted to make a comment about was about the elements and working with the elements. As you were talking about the stones, in the talk, I was thinking about how the groundedness and about when you're working with the earth and the trees, and there's a level of groundedness. And then when you're working with fire and water, and how we are made up of all of these elements as well, and that we draw from them when we need certain things in our life.
Yeah.
And as you talk about talking with the stones, it's actually talking with all the different elements. I mean, I'm a bark person, I'm a tree person. I actually have in my, I mean, Lee will contest to this. In my car, I'm driving around everywhere, open my boot, and there's just bark in my boot. It's just, someone says, what? I even had earth, a pot had fallen over, and I had soil in the car well, and some money had fallen in, and I thought it looks like buried treasure, and I didn't clean it up for ages, and someone got
Oh,
in
I
the
love
car
it.
and said, why have you got soil in your car? I said, but I have treasure in it as well.
Yeah, but that opens us up to deeper meaning making. That's the imagination, and that's what we've lost. And so where could that take you? What is that buried treasure standing as a symbol for in your life? You know, because that's actually a symbol. It's potent and pregnant with meaning, you know, to quote Carl Jung. So I see all these things, you know, the wind, the elements, the trees, they all have the same potentiality to speak in the way that I've shared with you tonight. And that's how I saunter and wander into the world every single day. Yeah, I have to ground myself obviously and get things done, like, you know, come and speak to, you know, you wonderful people here. But yes, it's just such a wonderful way of being in the world.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Absolutely. And there's something there that we just in that conversation and opening that up that reminds me of Ken Wilber's ideas around pre-trans fallacy, this idea that the playfulness and connection we might have in childhood is not necessarily the same as when we come through a developmental journey, although there's qualities of it the same. And I wonder if sometimes that's why the world is so quick to kick into touch these heart-sensed experiences, these mystical ways of knowing and connecting and speaking with the world. Certainly, as Romy was saying there, my experience, not so much with stones, but I've had very, very similar experiences and dialogues with plants and the trees and life in a broader term. So perhaps, yeah, there's something of returning to that child, but not losing those adult qualities that we also take with us. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense. That makes perfect sense, because I think with that is actually embedded, threaded through that is that kind of personal responsibility, you know, with the wisdom as hopefully we get as we get older. You know, there's that playful childlike quality, yet also at the same time what it is, the wisdom that we've gained to this point. We weave that in our relational space with the beings that we share this world with, and they become more fully themselves through us in that relationship.
What a beautiful place to finish, conscious of the time and conscious of your...
I know, I don't want to go without Leah, so because I know you maybe wanted to say something, Leah.
Just real quick, I could say a lot, but really, I just wanted to say thank you. It was a beautiful conversation. I'm going to echo you on Friday. So thank you for where you started. I'm so glad to know you and your work.
I'm so sorry, I can't come on Friday, Leah, but am I able to get the recording? And if any of you want to reach out individually, I would love to. I'm always loving, you know, connecting with like-minded, like-hearted people. So please reach out, and I'd love to have like a one-to-one connection with you. It'd warm my heart. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's been wonderful spending this time with you.
Oh, thank you. Come on, let's have one more round of applause.
Thank you very much.
So much, Louise. Have a lovely session tonight, and we look forward to connecting. If you want to share those details, I'll make sure they get out to people as well. So
I'll send through the slideshow at the end of my teaching session tonight. I'm diving into 1.5 billion years of Earth's history tonight. So yeah, it's lovely. As you do.
Fantastic.
Take care, everybody.
Take
I hope to see you all again. Bye.